The final score: Crewe Alexandra 0, Wrexham 3 again. I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC. And oh well, it's good, isn't it? These joyous summaries of matches. Another one to remember. I'll tell you what it reminds me of is 2003. Wrexham had already won promotion to League One off the back of the brilliance of Andy Morrell, Carlos Edwards, Lee Trundle, Darren Ferguson, the list goes on. And our last game of the season was away to Bury. And Bury were decent, but we turned up, we packed out the away end, and we just didn't give them a sniff, beat them 3-0, and it was another huge party. Well, this was the same. I mean, firstly, to be reasonable and put a bit of context on this, I feel a bit sorry for Crewe. Their season has deteriorated badly because they've had a lot of injuries and important injuries. But having said that, we put on a proper show against them. They were never in this game. They were just never, ever in it. And we dominated it in spectacular fashion. The Wrexham fans made wonderful noise. Crewe, a point probably would guarantee them a place in the playoff. A win certainly would. But from very early on, you could see that a win was incredibly unlikely. And their crowds tried to get behind them, fair play. But there was an air about them as Wrexham on and off the pitch, in terms of volume, overwhelmed them, that they were resigned to their fate in a tough game at Colchester next Saturday to have any chance of staying in the top seven. Anyway, the start was sort of cagey in terms of actual chances being created, but we were, after opening 2 or so minutes where Crewe with the crowd behind them really played with a bit of fury, Rowe trying to get at us, Holicek likewise, Nevitt holding the ball up well. They started to fade and we took control of the game, in all honesty. We defended well during that frenzied opening period, but once we started getting the ball down and moving it about, it felt like the outcome was feeling inevitable. Luke Young was the one change coming in midfield after George Evans was injured in training, and he was the architect of the first chance, which we had to wait till the 19th minute for, standing up a free kick from midfield. O'Connell getting up well with his header, but couldn't get on top of it and put it over the bar. But we continued to control the ball. I mean, the midfield was outstanding. Their command of play was terrific, and the way that especially Lee and Cannon were snapping in and making interceptions in Crewe's half, making it difficult for their young team to settle, was terrific. It was real front foot play when we didn't have the ball. And we took the lead deservedly in the 24th minute. Great work by Mullin, who was a constant problem for Crewe, breaking down the right-hand side, sweeping a great cross in. And Palmer did well to get a header onto it. 6 yards out, took a deflection off the defender, which just helped it to loop over the stranded Strychek and into the net. Van Wrexham took a deserved lead. It continued to be a game of few chances. Just after the half hour, Barnett did really well, winning the ball, feeding Palmer. I say feeding Palmer, he just looped it into the path of Palmer, and Palmer from about 25 yards out on the right-hand side tried a Jamie Vardy and nailed a brilliant dipping volley. Just didn't quite get enough on it, and as a result the keeper was able to come across and save it. But it was great stuff from Palmer, who was really looking at his best, confident, totally dominant in the air as well, which would become relevant when Wrexham got a second goal. Now then, that second goal was prefaced by a controversial incident. Rowe, on the right-hand side, was, like I said, alongside Holicek, probably their best player in the first half. He clearly got it in his head to try and wind up James McLean and get him sent off. The first part of his mission, certainly the first part that I noticed, was off the ball, but as we were on the same side as they were playing, I happened to see it. It was off the ball, Rowe just jogging up behind McLean and just sort of making sure that he banged into him just to wind him up. No need for it. You wondered if McLean had remembered that. I suspect he has, because soon afterwards McLean went in and took him out with a tackle which had "Don't mess with me" written all over it. The ref didn't give a card. And then, with a couple of minutes left of the half, came the big flashpoint in front of the dugouts, which is relevant. McLean has the ball and Rowe just takes him out. I mean, I think because Lee Bell, understandably, the Crewe manager, has been complaining about McLean's challenge, saying there should have been a red card. The focus has sort of been on that, but Rowe's challenge is poor. He clearly is going for the man, not the ball. It's not a red, he's not like studs up, but he really nails McLean. He hits him with his legs, across McLean's legs, and at the same time whacks him from behind with his arm and sort of flips McLean, who goes flying in the air. You could see before McLean had even got up that he was going to react. I think, to be fair, although, a lot of wise heads after the game were talking to me and saying that, he was silly and he put himself in a dangerous position to get sent off, and he did. I agree, totally. But I think most players would probably react to a foul like that, which was so clearly aimed at McLean. So McLean bounced back up and did a weird thing. It was a weird little instant, this now. He did that head into the other person's forehead thing without butting him, which referees do sometimes see as a red card. But he also, and I don't know if that was just very clever or just a bit weird, at the same time, bear hugged him. And was like walking into him with his head down, Rowe's backpedaling, flashing his arms as if he's trying to hit McLean but can't because McLean's right on him. Was it a clever move? Because he's thinking, I want to do that head-to-head thing, but he might just throw himself backwards and get me sent off with a headbutt. So he grabs him so he can't throw himself backwards. I don't know. Anyway, it takes a few players to prize them apart. In the meantime, Williams, the Crewe centre-back, has run half the length of the pitch, sprinted, I should say, and arrives at high speed and is trying to shove McLean. I always think of Tyler French at Eastleigh getting sent off for, I've got to say, a much less aggressive version of that 3 seasons ago. And so he's in there. The pair are separated. McLean and Rowe then go looking for each other. I think Rowe is actually looking for him first because McLean is complaining to the ref, saying, holding 2 fingers up, I assume referring to the 2 fouls that I've just mentioned, and saying, he's after me. Rowe goes looking for McLean. McLean responds by walking away from the referee and then is trying to not attack Rowe. No, there's no fight here, but he's trying to turn him around because he wants to see his number, and he tries it from both directions as if to say, I mean, let's be honest, he knows who he is, as if to say, let me see who you are so I can take you out later. Not wise. All the time, Williams is shouting and screaming at McLean, at the ref, at everybody. The referee calls Rowe, McLean and Williams across. This is feeling a bit like me pulling apart all the evidence in the JFK assassination, isn't it? Sorry for all the detail, but it was fascinating for me, I've got to be honest. Williams starts, even while the ref's talking to McLean, screaming into McLean's face. I mean, he's embarrassing, Williams is. And the referee in the end decides a yellow all round. I think it could have been a red all round as well, to be honest with you. So the 3 of them get booked. Now, the thing is, whether Crewe were focusing a bit, either intentionally or as the game went on winding McLean up, I don't know. But it clearly didn't work because Wrexham scored from the free kick. So Crewe were still in high dudgeon about that incident and winding themselves up, and meanwhile Wrexham keep a cool head and score, which is the right response. O'Connor drives a long free kick into the Crewe half. Palmer, like I said, had been winning headers comfortably all day against the Crewe centre-backs, flicks it on. Mullin times his run to perfection. The Crewe centre-backs are rather flat-footed as well, and he runs between them. He's one-on-one with the keeper, and he just lofts it over him with a nice little touch. And Mullin's got his 105th goal for Wrexham. God, remember when he was on 99 all those years ago? We were thinking, oh, hope he gets to 100 this season. Yeah, don't worry about that. And we're very much in the driving seat. 2nd minute of added time, Crewe get a corner which is swept in. Demetriou with a good stooping header outside the near post, but he can't control it properly, and it goes over the bar. And from the quick goal kick that Okonkwo sends up the pitch, there's a little warning to Crewe of what's going to be coming for them early in the second half. Okonkwo drives it over the top. Cooney, the right back, is isolated against Mullin. Mullin causes him all sorts of problems once he lets the ball bounce. Luckily for Crewe, Mullin pushes Cooney in the back. Cooney, actually, I've got to say, whether it's still in the spirit of what was going on a couple of minutes earlier, because the game's now very feisty, is rolling around and kicking his legs in the air like he's got some sort of spinal injury. And the referee sees it for what it is and just gives a free kick. But this is a warning for what will happen soon afterwards. At half-time, Phil Parkinson, experienced head, decides he doesn't want McLean to be suspended for the first 2 games of next season, and so he brings him off, and Callum McFadden makes his second appearance in the league this season. McFadden makes a mistake early on, but let's not dwell on that because he actually has a very good game. That mistake is in his own half, trying to pass it backwards to a defender, but actually picking out Nevis, who's running at O'Connell, the last defender. It's great defending by O'Connell, who just cuts off the angles, forces him wide, and in the end, Nevis, with no support, has to try a shot from a tight angle, and it's easy for Okonkwo to deal with at his near post. He just fills his near post, there's no way through him, and he just blocks it down onto the ground and picks her up. So great defending by O'Connell. Like I said, don't judge McFadden on that because he'll do well. Wrexham, meanwhile, are still in control, and the midfield is still tigerish. Lee winning the ball brilliantly, a 2-on-2 break. He drives forwards. Mullin starts to make a run for the through ball, then sees that probably the angle's not quite there, and you watch the video, you can see he just widens his run to take the centre-back away and give Lee a little bit more space, which Lee drives into, and from the edge of the D, hits a perfect strike with his right foot, arrowing into the bottom right corner. Brilliant save by Striek to lunge down, full stretch, and really strain himself to just get a hand on it and push it on the post. Outstanding save, brilliant work from Lee, clever work from Mullin. Wrexham, within a minute, Lee has another chance. As the corner's moving around after it's been cleared, Barnett whips a great cross into the far post. Lee gets it really well, good contact, but a bit too close to the Striek, who shows good hands to hold on to it. And then in the 54th minute comes that other controversial issue. Although I've got to say, it wasn't controversial to me at all. And again, Wrexham are under pressure. McFadden does well to tidy it up and then turns and drives the ball down the flank. Mullin is there, chasing Cooney, the player he had that one-on-one with at the end of the half. And here is the incident that was leading to. Mullin nudges Cooney, and I've got to say, having watched it back, that's the word I use in commentary, and I stand by it. It's a nudge. It's not a push. It's not enough to force Cooney into what he does next, which is stumble forwards and reach his arm up and hook the ball back down with his arm. He's clearly trying to say to the ref, look, I've been fouled and I couldn't help handling it. Ref's not interested at all and sends him off. Cooney is apoplectic. He goes crazy. His only defence is that he was fouled. Mullin's definitely onside, and there's no covering defender anywhere near. If Cooney hadn't done that, Mullin's running onto it, and he's one-on-one with the keeper. But he's going crazy, signaling that he was pushed. He starts to walk off, then spins around again and starts shouting and screaming, and then he aims a good volley of abuse at the linesman on the other side. He was the pitch's length away from this. I don't know why he's blaming him. But I've got to say, it was aggressive, and he could end up getting extra matches onto his suspension if the referee decides to add that to his report. So anyway, Wrexham now 2-0 up against 10 men, and we, for the remainder of the game, have a nice, relaxing time, totally dominating things. I think if we needed more goals, we'd have got them. Maybe a slight lack of ruthlessness in these closing stages, but we are so on top of it and the game is over. A couple of minutes after the red card, Mullin has a chance when Palmer does well again, turns 25 yards out, chips a great ball into the box over the centre-backs. Mullin's running onto it on the left channel. It's coming onto the wrong foot though. So he tries to stretch and hit across it and hits across it too much and it goes wide. Wrexham get the breakthrough just after the hour though. And again, it's excellent work in midfield by Lee. Rowe on the right-hand side, sloppy, gives it away. Lee intercepts back to goal, about 35 yards out, turns. And this is the lovely thing. Cannon makes these runs all the time into the box, and he makes another great run from the right channel to the left channel. The centre-backs are too far apart, and there's a lovely inviting bit of space in there. And Lee is so intelligent. He sees Cannon's going, he sees the space, and he waits on the ball. There's a player coming to him. He's not put enough pressure on Lee, so Lee has a chance to stand on the ball, wait, and then feed the perfect ball in for Cannon. And then Cannon, it's great work. Like I say, he's running right to left onto the ball. Dimitri, the centre-back, is the only player between him and goal. Cannon looks like he's going to be carry on running and just try and go down the left-hand side of him, and then suddenly pivots onto his right. Dimitri falls completely off balance after the really neat move. And it also, I think the keeper's sort of setting himself to move to his right, and when that happens, he doesn't quite set himself properly. And when Cannon then hits it the other side of the keeper, he just can't react in time. Great finish. Great work by Lee. And Wrexham are 3-0 up. We, 5 minutes later, started making changes. Mullin and Palmer off. Marius and Fletcher coming on. Crewe had their best chance of the match with 15 to go. After a corner was cleared, Billington on the right flank, standing in the ball, and the substitute Finney getting up well. Just managed to get in behind Barnett, and from 6 yards out, headed the ball over the bar. Wrexham immediately make more changes. Jordan Davis coming on for Andy Cannon, who'd just taken a pretty heavy whack on the halfway line, and Luke Bolton coming on for Ryan Barnett, the traditional substitution. And we continue to put pressure on. Fletcher as well, winning the ball and dinking it in. Marriott driving down the left channel, has a sight of goal, decides to hit it inside the near post though and puts it just outside. You know, it's a cliche, but I'll say it's probably the percentage option was to drive it across the keeper, but it's a good, powerful strike. Then a really, really nice breakaway leads to a long spell of pressure. The break flounders only because Jordan Davis tries to play a through ball down the right channel for Fletcher, who's gone goal side of the centre-back. And it's actually really good lunging interception by Adebisi to stop the ball going through to Fletcher. But Wrexham win the ball back, keep the pressure on. And eventually, it's Marius picking it up on the left-hand side. The ball's been cleared and he intercepts really well on the edge of the area. Cuts in from the left and tries a right-footed shot that he can't keep down. Lee wasn't happy with him because he was a simple rolled ball square. And then he and the D had plenty of space to try and shot. Lee then involved as Wrexham continues to dominate the game in a wonderful moment, sweeping a superb cross in from midfield on the right-hand side to Fletcher, who's run between the channels and attempts a volley. He nails it, technically beautiful, into the bottom left corner, and Strach again, absolutely outstanding reflex save. It's that area that's hard for goalies to get to, between your foot and your hand, just like close on the outside of your foot, so it's hard to get down to, and he gets down to it brilliantly. Great save by Strach. And Wrexham canter home. That 3rd minute of added time, we have another opportunity. A corner's cleared. It comes out to the right-hand side where Lee again sweeps a terrific ball, cutting out the defence and putting Young around the back. He drills a powerful ball in, which O'Connor gets to on the rebound and smashes just wide from 15 yards out. Very close to a fourth. But, you know, let's not be too greedy. 3-0 away is pretty good. Brilliant performance. And then there's the big party as the Wrexham fans go through the same repertoire as they did last Saturday, just singing songs to all the different individual players who spend a long time out there with their supporters, who were, as I said, brilliant throughout. Individual performances, Arthur Okonkwo kept a clean sheet. Didn't have to do anything else, if I'm perfectly honest. Didn't even have to take many crosses. Very nice quiet day at the office for Arthur. Centre-backs were excellent again. And, I mean, again, O'Connell's presence is terrific. O'Connor's passing, very, very good. Crewe just continues to be consistent. I mean, what more can you say? All three of them very good. Wing-backs, Barnett did well, put some good balls in. It was a good duel he had with Adebisi, actually, which Barnett won, I think. He had the beating of Adebisi, but the Crewe left-back did a decent job, to be fair, and got forwards and had a couple of little promising moments himself. On the other flank, like I say, McLean pulled off at half-time. He had a good first half. He's taken off half-time. McFadden did well defensively and very ambitious going forwards too. Got into lots of good positions and a lot of good link-up play. So well done, McFadden. Good stuff. Young in the middle of midfield, again, was solid. It was good to see him get a start, and he was comfortable on the ball, tackling well. Impressive performance by the skipper. Cannon and Lee, absolutely outstanding. And, you know, Neil Williams and I were saying afterwards in the Hot Take podcast that there were a lot of performances who were player of the match standard, but it sort of boiled down to those two. We went for Cannon. And I'm going to stick with that, although I must say Lee was excellent. I mean, Cannon was just snapping in and winning balls all the time. He wouldn't give them a moment's rest. He was excellent, Cannon. Lee was, well, at his creative best, playing such wonderful balls into the box. He would have had a goal were not for Striak's brilliant save as well. Yeah. See, the thing is, I want to stick with Cannon, but every time I talk about Lee's performance or think about it or look back at bits, I think Lee was the best player on the pitch. Oh, Cannon by a hair's breadth, I'll say. And then up front, yeah, Mullin was great. I mean, Mullin was Mullin, just a constant threat. He knock it long and it doesn't find him. He'll still force an error out of the defender. His movement, his intelligence is good. His goal was classic Mullin, just quality and calmness when the pressure's on. Palmer did really well. They were a great combination again, winning so much in the air. He won a hell of a lot of headers. And it's just unfortunate that Mullin, anticipating, was going down the wrong channel. And then he went down the right channel and scored. Excellent performance by the front two. Marriott and Fletcher looked dangerous as well when they came on. And as for the other subs, Bolton did solidly enough, didn't have that much time to really make an impression. Jordan Davis, again, a good lively performance off the bench. Nearly put Fletcher through, of course, but Adebisi denied him. So, yeah, brilliant. Great stuff. One more game left of another memorable, historic season for us. See you on Saturday with the final score of Crewe Alexandra 0, Wrexham 3. I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.